Hello and welcome to episode 301 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now joining me on today's episode is the singer and the rhythm guitarist from the incredible band Haunt the Woods. I'm joined by Jonathan Stafford. Now this is a band that I can't claim that I've known for years. I've only recently discovered them, but I can safely say that they have blown me away. If you're a fan of bands like Jeff Buckley, Muse, you're going to absolutely love everything about this band. They've just released, as we're sitting here right now, a brand new album and it's called Ubiquity. And I can tell you now, it's unbelievable. It will blow your mind. So hopefully, after you've listened to today's interview, you'll go and check it out because it's absolutely awesome. Also, what I want to do now is say that I haven't actually released an episode for nearly 3 weeks. That's unheard of for Mark and me, but the reason is episode 300 did so well. As you know, it was a dream guest for me, my number one guest that I've wanted since I launched the podcast, Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro. I couldn't dream of this episode doing as well as it has. It's been my most downloaded episode that I've ever released in 7 years of podcasting. It's beaten any other guest, and it's still being massively downloaded each and every day right now. It got to number 2 on the whole of Apple Podcasts in the UK, number 5 in Canada, and number 21 in America, which is just insane. It's also hit the top 30 on Spotify. I couldn't actually imagine anything doing this well, so it's blown my mind, and a massive thank you to everyone that's taken the time and listened to this interview. You may also notice as well, I've launched a YouTube channel now. Everyone was always saying, please do some video interviews. I really want to see behind the scenes, and I did this off the back of Simon Neil. It's up there now. You can also go and check out Tim Wheeler from Ash, and you can go and check out the amazing Alex Winter. They're all available for free, so just go on YouTube and search Mark and Me podcast. And as always, if you can hit that subscribe button and like button, it really goes a long way. I'm going to be bringing you loads of videos very shortly. Right, let's get back to today's interview. It's a huge one. Haunt the Woods. What a band. What a great guest. And his first ever podcast, so it's a great one that we started with Mark and me. Here's me and Jonathan talking all things music. So John, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
It's a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me. It's really nice to chat and meet you.
What I love to do with all guests that have been on the podcast, even though it's been going 7 years, they all get the first question. And what I like to know is where it all started for you. So maybe as a kid, you bought an album with your pocket money, or someone in your family gave you an album. But what was that album that you remember that you just instantly fell in love with and kind of you knew that was the one? You'd read the lyrics, you'd smell the inlay of the CD, you'd be obsessed.
Yeah, it was definitely CDs. That was the go-to thing. I remember like getting a little MP3 player as well, which was amazing when I was like 11 or something. And that was like quite new technology. I guess the one that comes to mind is quite a hard question. But I guess the one that comes to mind is probably O or 9 by Damien Rice.
Oh, nice.
There's also I would also add a footnote of like Survival by Bob Marley was another one. Very different types of albums, but the first one really was something about Damien Rice. As I came into like developing my own music taste, because obviously up until that point I was quite just exposed to like my parents. They didn't listen to a lot of music, but the music they listened to. My mum liked Motown, and my dad likes Meatloaf and stuff like that. So like that's what I was exposed to in early years. Yeah, it's Meatloaf, quite dramatic, like almost like theatrical stuff. But Damien Rice, I just something about the way he uses dynamics and the rawness and the authenticity and the honesty of both the recordings and the lyrics and the music. I don't know. I was only probably about 11 or something listening to Damien Rice, so I didn't fully understand it, I don't think. like fully get all the lyrical parts, but there was something about that record, those two records, that just struck a chord in me. I could feel its authenticity.
The thing I
Yeah,
remember about that album as well, I know people don't appreciate this as much now, but it came in like not just your normal CD case. It was like a sort of fabric, cardboardy, yellowy
it,
cover, and I remember it thinking like it felt special. It felt like no more than just a normal CD.
yeah, because they all came in those dual like plastic
Yeah,
cases. But that was the first one I'd seen as well. Both of those records, where it was a cardboard wallet. Yeah, but it was really beautifully made, like great artwork and stuff. And quite minimalistic, if I remember
yeah, it was
both
lovely.
covers, I
I
think.
think it literally just had like
And
a
it was
little
like,
drawing, and then it just literally said Damien Right. That was it.
yeah, yeah, that was, yeah. I've forgotten that until you said that. Yeah, I remember. Can feel the card wallet now, and yeah, I just think it's an amazing album,
I haven't heard
both of
it for
those
years,
albums.
so I think
And then
after
the
today I'll
third,
be listening to it.
yeah, go and do it. I haven't heard it for a while either, to be honest. Like you go through waves with music taste or what you're listening to, not necessarily taste. I might have to go and re-listen to those records as well.
So, live music changed for me when I went to my first gig, and I realized that, as much as I love listening on CD, to see a band in the flesh is kind of the pinnacle moment for me when I thought, this is all I want to do. Like, I just want to be in a band for the rest of my life. It blows my mind that those songs I've been listening to are now in front of me being performed. Did you have a very cool first gig, or was it quite an embarrassing one, or how did kind of live music come into your life?
Um, I guess the live music came into my life as like playing live music before I saw live music really.
Yeah.
Like I think I started doing gigs when I was 11, like not proper gigs. Well, I say gigs, like started playing my guitar and singing at a youth club in Saltash called Livewire Youth Music Project, which is like you pay 50p to go to it, and you can get free music lessons. It's got a 400 capacity venue, and it's a youth club as well. Um, and that was really my first exposure. I'm like, I remember singing in a carol concert when I was in a choir in like year 4 and stuff. Pretty standard stuff. But then, so before seeing any live music, that was really my exposure. The big thing for me, the big gig was I was in year 6, so I was like 10 or 11. I was in a school choir and I had like solos in the choir because I had this really cool teacher, music teacher in primary school, and we performed on the Plymouth Hoe to like several thousand people, our school choir, and it
Wow.
just like I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. It just ignited a spark in me that was already there, but like further ignited the spark in me, and I just adored it. And then the first proper gig I went to was probably embarrassing. Well, maybe not embarrassing. Avril Lavigne, um, at the Plymouth Pavilions when I was about 12, I think, or 11 or 12.
It's not
But
embarrassing.
she's
I have a
class.
lot of people now that still, she's literally touring right now, and people are still like really excited to go and see her again after so many. It'll be scary. It's been like 20 years now since the album, and yeah, it's. I think she helped really change music and encourage bands like Paramore and the female-fronted bands to really go for it. So I think she's. It's not embarrassing. That's a cool first gig.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, she was like pioneering in terms of she kind of just and in from what I know anyway, I don't know a lot about her like personally, but from what I can tell, she just kind of was like, nah, this is who I am. I'm this kind of like skater, Canadian young woman, and like that's who I'm going to be, and no one's going to change me. It did all feel fairly authentic, and from the small bits of interviews I've seen, it seems like that was her. She was like, "This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be, and I'm not going to be like a country singer and dress in country clothes or whatever." She like just did her thing.
Awesome. So I don't know the full background about you actually as a musician. Obviously, I know that you play the rhythm guitar and vocals in the band, but was Haunt the Woods your first kind of main band, or did you do the whole thing at college where you were in Battle of the Bands and lots of different cover bands at school and stuff, or was this kind of your first setting out as being a band?
I did. I've always played music from about five years old. I was lucky and was lucky enough to have parents who could afford to buy me like a Spanish acoustic guitar when
That's
I
very
expressed
cool.
yeah, when I expressed interest in the guitar. And I don't have musical parents at all really. But they bought me like, so it's only like a 30 or 40 quid Argos guitar, but there's a lot of people who parents wouldn't even be able to afford to get them that. So that was really nice and encouraged me. I started learning to play the guitar, not very well, teaching myself, had a few lessons, but kind of I don't think I have the attention span for things like that. So just ended up just feeling my own way through it, got a chord book, learnt some chords. And then I remember being in a band at Livewire, where we wrote our own songs when I was 11 or so. So I started writing when I was 11, 10, 11. And we were like a rock band called No Limit. And we wrote songs like, and we wrote songs called Nothing to Lose and stuff like that, so when we were like 11. So it was
Please,
just
please tell
fun.
me
And
some of these are recorded somewhere.
there is that I don't have them, but we did make a CD because Livewire has a recording studio that's free to use as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's an amazing place just down on the waterfront. It's sort of actually still there. And I learned just it's amazing thing to have on your doorstep when you're a kid. So did like a few things like that, but not very seriously. And then I ended up going to secondary school on my own. I didn't know anyone. Like, no one from my primary school went. So I kind of all of the ties I had, all of the friends I had didn't have anymore. So I started just playing music on my own, and then like kind of dipped into bands. Um, like again, originals. It was always originals. It was never didn't play cover songs. Um, but really got into like gigging, and I used to busk outside Tesco, like and bunk off school when I was like 14 and go and busk outside Tesco playing my own original songs with no amplifier, just like my guitar and my voice trying to like bashing the strings and like breaking strings and having bloody fingers because I didn't use a pick. And um so yeah, I mean I've always done music, but Haunt the Woods started when I met Phoenix, our guitarist, our lead guitarist, and we played. I had a set of songs that I'd written, and I'd like put them on SoundCloud or something. And he'd heard them before, and we met for a mutual friend, and then we met up for a jam, and we played the first note of Beautiful Catastrophe together, and we've both agreed that immediately we're like, right, this is going to be a really cool project. And I don't think very much that we played in that jam, that first jam of Beautiful Catastrophe, which is one of our songs that we released from our first EP.
Yes.
I don't think much has changed really, in terms of how our parts are. He wrote an amazing solo, but other than that, like I think they're pretty similar to what we played in that first jam. So then, yeah, I mean, and then we met Ollie, and it was the first time it was like, right, we're seriously going to do this, not to any end or not like, didn't really know what the goal was, but just because we all love music and I love writing music, and I like can't live without writing music. So, don't know, yeah, just found a group of I
Did you
don't
kind of I know it sounds ridiculous, but did you kind of have any expectations of how far you wanted to take the band? Any kind of, let's set ourselves some like targets. Let's try and play so many festivals or sell so many albums or CDs. What was your kind of initial idea for how far this band could go?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I'm not sure. Like we had an idea of where it could go, but like specific idea. But I think the goal was let's just play live. Let's just play as many gigs as possible. Let's just play our original music in
Yeah,
front of people. Like, and it was just like it's always been in me. This like drive, this just unrelenting, like just compulsive need to create and play music. And Yeah, I think in the early years, I think the guys would probably agree I was a real driving force in that regard. And booking like 3 gigs in a day, and everyone being like, "Why have you done this?" And like, having to run around with like, I mean, Ollie played a cajon back then, so he didn't even play a kit and a flute. So it was like folk music really then, when we were like 19, 9 years ago or whatever. And yeah, so I'm not sure. I mean, definitely there was always an ambition and a belief that the music we're playing is authentic and honest, and that like we'll stay out of the results of what I think that it's best for my mental health anyway. If just stay out of the results of what people think of it, and just keep doing what we believe in that's honest and true to us and full of emotion, you know. And if we can make, I think the ambition's always been, let's just make another album. Let's just make another album. If we can continue to do this without it costing us any money, then
That's the dream.
yeah,
And
basically.
eventually maybe get some money from it too.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, have dribs and drabs these days, but I mean, honestly, like money's just, I've always said, I mean, it's quite an unfortunate attitude to have a lot of the time, but also good in some ways. That money's just something. I heard someone say it once. Money's something you have just in case you don't die tomorrow. So
It's a nice
you
way to
know,
put it.
whatever. If we get money, if we don't get money, like as long as we're making something we believe in that will outlast all of us anyway. You know, which is our music. So
Does it feel like, even though you guys, was it 2016 you formed, so 7 years ago?
yeah, I mean, I think that's the when we properly formed this one was. I think we were playing music together for a couple of years before that. Phoenix and I, at least, I'd say. But its current lineup, me, Phoenix, Ollie, and Jack. Jack joined about 5.5, 6 years ago.
Yeah. Does it feel like, and I say this with full respect, but it's only the real last 12 months that you've really seen the momentum and the kind of gigs are getting bigger and more people know of your band and the numbers are going up on Spotify? Because for me, I'm late to the game. I only discovered you a year ago, but there was a lot of buzz at 2000 Trees about your set. People I've seen are getting very excited now, with Spine Farm obviously being the record label behind it for the new album.
Mm.
It really feels like a lot's happened over the last sort of 12 months.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to some degree, I think before the difference we've seen is like Spine Farm have been great to us, giving us some great support. Really believed in an album that was already made when
Yeah.
when we came to them. We already had this album made, and they just were like, "Yeah, we love it. We're not going to change anything. We're going to get behind it. We believe in the music." So that was a big catalyst for stuff like Reading, Leeds, 2000 Trees, the Radio One plays we've been getting, and all of that stuff, and like some cool music videos coming that we've been able to conceptualize, and so all of that's been cool. I think before that, where we live, local, there's always been a like, so like 4 or 5 years ago we were putting on a gig, so Carnglaze Cavern, which we'll do for the release of
Yeah.
our album, which is a cave in the middle of Cornwall, like with no bus routes to it or anything. It's mental. And we put on a gig there 4 or 5 years ago and sold it out. So I think locally in Cornwall and into Devon, for over the years, we've really had we've created a scene for ourselves because it's not a massive scene around here. Um, but definitely we're starting to trickle out, and people are hearing about us all over now. Not in a big way, but like gradually more people are starting to listen and starting to enjoy and see something that they take something from the music. And I think, yeah, definitely over the last 12 months and signing with Spine Farm, like it definitely was a big factor in that.
And how was the summer? Because I saw your set at 2000 Trees, which I thought was fucking mesmerizing. I love that
Oh,
festival. I
thank you.
love, I love everyone there. I think it's like there's no dickheads. It feels like one big family, and everyone's there for the music and the woods and everything. It just feels really beautiful. But then obviously to play Reading and Leeds, like that's some band's absolute complete goal. Like that's the biggest dream ever, to play those festivals. Does it feel unbelievable to have done that this year?
Yeah, it does. Like I think in a way, in one way, it's like I was talking to Ollie, our drummer, about this the other day. Like stuff happens, like playing Reading, and in this moment now, it's like cool, yeah, like that's what we should be doing. But then if I think about years ago, how we'd have felt about that, it would have been like, oh my God, that's amazing. We're going to play Reading and Leeds, BBC Introducing Stage. Wow. Like, so I guess like my perception of what we're doing and how cool it is changes over time because the goalposts shift and we're always like, you know, pushing the goals higher these days. Um, and trying to not, it's like glass ceiling or whatever, if that's the phrase that you'd use. But yeah, I mean, obviously playing Red and Leeds is amazing. It was a really cool experience just to get to do it. I mean, and it was fun as well. Like the night before Reading, me, Jack, and Ollie were all sleeping in the back of my van on blurt mattresses, and but then the next night Phoenix was with us because he came up on the morning that we played. So then we had a hotel, but so that was nice. But yeah, it's just nice to get to do stuff like that together because we're all good friends. Um, and to feel like the music's going somewhere and to meet cool people. Like we've had a load of cool festivals. Like even last year, this time last year, September, we supported Elbow. We were main support for Elbow at Tunes in the Park in Port Elliot, which is near us. That was a big one. That's probably, and then we did Marillion last year as well. We did some shows with them. Um, yeah, I mean, all these opportunities are just, to be honest, once upon a time, they would have been mind blowing for us. And it's good to kind of remind ourselves of that.
Have you got, obviously with the album launch close to home, have you got anything in the pipeline to then get the music out there as much as you can live? So is there going to be a big tour? Is there going to be lots of UK shows coming our way?
We're hoping so, yeah. At the moment, where I think we're waiting for some dates to be delivered to us. Um, and like also to it'd be nice to find a good support tour as well.
Yeah.
That we can jump on as well as do like a smaller headline tour. But who knows how the album will be received as well. Like I think, yeah, we'll definitely do loads of shows. We have no concrete dates booked right now. Um, but I'm sure that won't be far away. And people can definitely expect to see a cool show with lots of passion and pretty roller coaster vibes.
Do you feel pressure with the album coming out? Like you said, then you hope people, it's perceived well, and it might get you those support slots you're dreaming of, and get you those headline tours. Do you feel, even though you've had the album a while and you've sat on it, because the world hasn't heard it, does it feel very nervous and kind of? Do you have anxiety about, oh my God, are people going to like this?
um, I mean, not very much, no. Like I think for me, like the Rick Rubin's one guy I like a lot, and he talks about the like, and he's just done his book, The Creative Act.
I've got it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think like it talks a lot about staying out of the results and creating with love and like attentiveness and like a, almost graciousness and just being allowing the conditions to be right for something to come through. And then after it's done, it's like it's not it's outside of you. So and I think for my own frame of mind, the less I worry about if anyone likes the art that we create, the better I feel about my life in general.
That's good. You don't want
And
to put yourself under pressure when life's pretty terrifying as it is.
yeah, life's a lot to deal with anyway. It's like constant, like, you
Battling
know,
an uphill struggle, so you don't need to make any more for yourself.
yeah, but the uphill struggle is what makes everything so good in life as well.
It's true.
I remember hearing someone speak about you always need an uphill climb. And as soon as people don't have the uphill climb and are just in their luxurious palace, like their life unravels anyway. So or their mind may, not always, but it can be a thing. So
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people just then just switch off or just kind of waste away.
yeah, exactly. So I love the I don't want to say I love it, but the struggle is as good as the triumph for me. Like they come from the same place. Like pain, happiness. They you don't know one without the other. Again with Haunt the Woods, we've had so much, not rejection, but so much like just it's been a long journey for us, and we've created so much and not tried to care too much about if anyone likes it. If we like it, that's what's important. If we still feel proud of it a year or two later, that's what's important to us. If and obviously we want people to like it. I'm not going to lie and say that we don't, but like if other people get something from it, however many people, then that's perfect. Doesn't really matter too much to us how many people, but we understand to keep making records that we want to make on the scale that we want to make them, which is more and bigger and bigger and bigger and more ambitious. We probably will have to have at some point some degree of kind of commercial success so that it's financially viable. So I guess that thought does get into the head, but I try and just observe it and let it pass and then focus on like what's real, which is what's outside of me right now, you know.
That's good to hear and very healthy and kind of mature because some people just go out there and just, oh, I'll just see how it goes. And it's like, well, it's not always that easy. But at the same
No,
time, don't overanalyze every little thing where every day you're looking how many downloads you've got. Otherwise, it takes the fun away.
yeah, and I feel like the art suffers as well, you know. At the end of the day, like life in so many ways, the way I express myself is music, like and not in and like being romantic about it or anything. It just is. And even if I didn't want to or don't want to, sometimes I can't help it. It's just how I express myself. And
Yeah.
I think the more I worry about whatever people think about that, it really is very basically me worrying about what people might think about how I express myself, and I just can't. There's, it would be easy to do that, and I have done in the past, but it's not beneficial, and I just don't have time for it. Just need to keep on creating art because that's what I love doing, and I feel like the guys probably feel similarly as well.
And I see when anyone's discussing or writing about your band, they do compare you a lot of the time to Muse and Jeff Buckley. And
Mm,
I see it an awful lot. And that must be one of the best compliments ever because for me, I think Jeff Buckley's the greatest singer that I've ever heard. Grace is one of the greatest albums of all time, and he was taken way too soon. And
yeah.
are you a massive fan? Is that something that consciously comes in your songwriting, or is it just a comparison that people have just picked up on because it remotely sounds like it, or is it in your blood as well?
I think the comparison came first. Actually, I went to live and lived in Liverpool for a year when I was 18, and I remember playing a gig on my own. This is before Haunt the Woods,
Yeah,
and this chap who went to the uni, who was a few years older than me, he was in a band. He said to me, "Have you heard Grace?" I was like, "What's Grace?" He was like, "What do you mean, what's Grace? Don't be silly." I was like, "No, honestly, I don't." He's like, "Jeff Buckley." I was like, I don't know Jeff, but I've not listened to him before." And he was like, "You must have listened." I was like, I really haven't, honestly." And then he introduced me to Buckley, and I thought, and he made that comparison. And I really like the music. I mean, I don't think there's many people would hear Jeff Buckley and not connect with it in some way. It's amazing, and the way he uses his voice is like an instrument. So from that point onwards, about 18, so for the last 10-ish years, it's really obviously like I heard the music and I really liked it. Um, but the comparison came first, and he's definitely informed me. Wow, you really can use the voice as an instrument. You don't have
yeah,
to just like sing words, you know, and that word. It's like it's almost like the words are one thing, but the voice is another thing. It's like comes from. I don't think it's like any other instrument. I feel like with every other instrument um there is something that it has to come through. So like the soul comes through your fingers and onto a guitar. So there's like another third, but with the voice, it just comes out.
yeah.
There's no separation between body and noise. if you know what I mean.
No, I
Like
do.
it
It's
literally
it's
comes from
so
within you.
true.
And I think that is so apparent to me when I listen to singers like Jeff Buckley, other singers too, like but him particularly. And so he definitely influenced me and made me think that what I was doing, that someone had said, it reminded them of, which is a massive compliment. I mean, and I own it, yeah, and I've had it a lot, and it's really good, massively. I'm grateful and very like humbled by people saying that because I do think he's a brilliant vocalist. Um, but yeah, he definitely made me like educated me a bit. I
Yeah.
learned there's not really any limitations to the voice, and like you can increase your range by working on it, and you can. Yeah, there's something about the human voice which is different, and he definitely, yeah, I'm really humbled by that comparison.
You literally get people writing saying Queen, Muse, Radiohead, Beatles, like
Yeah,
fucking hell, like that. I would be very proud of that. I'd be like, yeah, I'm framing that on my wall. Like
Ha.
you're comparing me to the best British bands of all time.
I mean, it is amazing, but at the same time, subjective. So someone else might go, "Oh, I don't like that wailing and that why are you shrieking." Like my nan probably might say something like, she might go, "Oh, why do you have to do all the shrieking?" She'd probably say something like that. So I, I just think it's subjective, and it's really nice when people say kind things and like compare you to people who you think are great as well. It's a really nice thing, but at the same time, it's like it's a matter of opinion, isn't it? So
No, that's
it's
fair.
but yeah, I Radiohead are another who I found after seeing them on the Pyramid stage at Glastonbury
Fucking hell. What
about
a way to
six or
discover
seven
them.
years. Yeah, 6 or 7 years ago, I heard them and thought, oh my god. And I'd only ever really heard Creep before, and thought, okay, yeah, they're all right, that '90s band or whatever. And then I listened to the whole of OK Computer, and I was like mind blown after that gig. And then found Ollie, our drummer. He sent me In Rainbows and the song
Fucking masterpiece.
Weird Fishes. Yeah, I know. And I was just like, wow. Because I was just getting into time signatures, like weird time signatures, like sevens and fives and stuff like that. So, yeah, just blew my mind
They
again.
blow my mind all the time. And Kid A is just absolute genius. I just think, how the hell did they do that at that time?
Yeah, I don't think there's a bad album. Even Pablo Honey's like okay, but
Yeah, it shows all the
it just
potential
got
of
better
what's
from
coming.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just got better from Pablo Honey. Like it just was pioneering. I think Dave Grohl, is it, said I remember him saying in an interview like the most seminal rock album of modern times is OK Computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
It's
thought, yeah, I agree with that.
I listen to it, and every time I hear it, and I've listened to it for 20 years, every time I hear something new,
Yeah,
I'm like,
banger of an album.
fucking layers on it. It's just mind blowing. I
Yeah,
honestly don't know how you construct a song with so many dynamics and range, and it's fucking genius.
it is.
Let's just talk about
It is.
Radiohead for the next half an hour. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I'm
fucking
keen.
brilliant Radiohead
We could
cast.
just put on a record and just
And just talk about why it's so
listen
good.
to OK Computer and do a little commentary over it.
That'd be unreal. But are you guys now with this album? I know it's done at your end. You've heard it. It's all mastered. It's ready to go. The label have heard it and taken it on board, not made any amendments or changes.
Mm.
It must not feel like a new album to you now because you've had it for a while. So are you already as a band writing the next follow up or new music to play live?
Yeah, definitely. Like the album does feel like what we were doing before,
Yeah,
Not to say I'm so proud of it. I haven't listened to it for quite some time, but I'm really proud of it. I love playing the songs live, and that's like one of the first times I've felt about our music. But I write like not in a like, oh, I write loads of music, but in like a just on like it's how I live cope with life. I
yeah,
write a lot of music, and I'd say like the majority of our songs come from me bringing a song to the guys and then
yeah.
us figuring out how it can be a Haunt the Woods song. Because I write just on a nylon guitar, me and my guitar a lot of the time. So, but the one or two will be like the other guys come up. Like Home was something on the new album, was something Jack came up with. Like the piano part. I always write the lyrics. and the vocals. But like mostly it comes from me. So I've already got, I'd say, so I started just like another project for a little that I was doing for a bit just to do some gigs when we weren't gigging, just locally. It was very under wraps. And I wrote an album's worth of material for that. Then I've got another, and that was in like a couple of months, just wrote this album's worth of material and learned it all and played a couple of gigs. And then just like in our local noodle bar. And then I've been working on like I've got an album worth of like material that's just mine at the moment that like I will show to the other guys. And then I've got probably 2/3 or maybe a whole record um of Haunt the Woods stuff. We've started jamming bits of it, and I know the other guys write songs as well that I don't hear until we start jamming them. So I'd say there's like 3 and a bit albums worth of songs floating around.
That's insane.
Just from me, and then whatever the other guys have got.
That's good though. At least you're going to be busy. At least it's not like, oh fuck, how are we going to top this album? We're going to have to really start trying to get together more and write. Like some people panic then.
Well, we are going to have to do that to get on the same page and like start fleshing ideas out, because that is like more than half of the process. Like a lot of the songs I bring, like Fever Dream, when I first played it to the guys, they were like, what the hell is this? Like, this is just mad and this is never going to work. I remember Jack going, I hate this song, I'm never playing it. And then like a month later, it was like opening track on the album. So like, it does take a lot of figuring out, and my ideas are quite erratic as well. So, and all over the place. But yeah, me and Ollie started jamming. I mean, it's how a lot of this album came about as well. Like, it was during lockdown, so Phoenix lives a little further away from us. So me and Ollie were meeting up at his during the whole "you can't meet up" thing. Yeah, whatever. We were meeting up and making some music, and we were jamming at his place because he lives in this church, this converted church, is where he lives. And he's got space, so he has his kit set up, and we just jammed like the early "Now Is Our Time" and like other songs, like lots of other songs, Equilibrium Gold. We're jamming early forms of these, and we've just started doing that with new ideas now. And it was really exciting. A jam we had the other day, which was centered around this really interesting new song, which is a continuation and evolvement of the sound on stuff like Fever Dream. So yeah, there's plenty of music. We can't wait to make another record, to be honest with you.
What happens to the stuff that doesn't get past the guys? So you said you got 3.5 albums worth. Would there be a solo album for you, or a separate project, or something else, or are you just prepared to put it on the shelf until it's ready one day?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the guys to some degree are like a shit filter as well. Like, so like I'm definitely a more of like, if you have 100 ideas, one of them's good. Like, because I write a lot. But I guess I don't know. I love making music with Ollie, Phoenix, and Jack. Hopefully the feeling's mostly mutual, and if not always, because I know I'm difficult sometimes. But I'd love to dip my toe. I've got a lot of demo recordings that I record myself that I think are all right. They're all kind of like Bon Ivory, minimalistic, like falsetto things, with a nylon guitar and like sampled drums and stuff. So I've probably got an album or two of demos that are mine that I could release, but I've got no plans to at the moment. But there's no reason I couldn't, like, on the lowdown, just drop a little solo EP and not tell anyone about it and just put it out.
Well, you got the exclusive now on this podcast that coming soon, solo album.
I'm not sure about that.
What I do on the podcast, and it's my last question, and I ask this to everyone that comes on, you get to choose the last piece of music that's played. So every episode is different. There's nearly 300, but every guest chooses the last song that's played. So is there a song that means a lot to you, or a piece of music that you'd love to be played out, not obviously by your own band, by anyone in the world? I know it's difficult when you're a songwriter or a huge fan and music is your life, I can see that. But is there a song that stands out when I ask the question that comes to your heart before any?
Oh,
You've probably got 100 in your head right now.
That's an incredibly hard question. Uh,
I always like the
I would.
reason that comes with it because you'll pick one and then be like, "This is why it came to my head."
I'll tell you, just because it's what I'm into at the moment.
Okay.
There is a song called. It's just the first thing I think. Yeah, that's good. So I'm gonna go for it. It's called "Here Comes the River," and it's by Patrick Watson.
I've never heard this in my life.
Okay, it's great.
This is good because what I usually get is people saying the big ones like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Oasis and stuff. And I'm like, that's good. It's
Right.
got a reason. But if this is something new that I'll then go on a little discovery and find out loads more music by him, then that's going to be a really
Oh, he's
exciting few days.
amazing. He's amazing. So Patrick Watson is just an amazing. It's mostly piano based,
Yeah.
beautiful lyrics. The first time I heard the song "Here Comes the River," which is the one I'm saying that to play, it made there's this beautiful string arrangement, his voice and his lyrics, and they're quite abstract lyrics, but it just struck a chord in me because I don't know why. If I knew why and could just stop it, then my life would be much easier because I'd probably just be like a electrician or something and actually like have a stable life. But unfortunately, when I listen to music, it just ignites a spark in me and it just evokes a response that I can't control, which is like if I hear something and I don't even know what it's about, it's the first time I've heard it, it's just beautiful. It just makes me cry, not because I'm sad, but just because it
Mate,
strikes
there's nothing
something in
else
me.
in the world. This is why I do the podcast. Music is what makes me live and breathe. And
Mm.
genuinely, I was driving home today before this interview, and I was just listening to Biffy Clyro and their Opposites album, and I was just listening to Simon's voice and how beautiful it sounded with just the stripped down acoustic, and I wanted to cry. And it's not because I've
Mm.
had a bad day. It's not because I feel sad. I was just there's nothing else in the world that
Mm.
gets me emotional like that. It's just the power of a song, and I was like listening to his lyrics and obviously what he'd gone through to write that song, and I just thought it's just fucking beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And there's nothing like it. I think music is the universal language, like I think that
Yeah,
is what I love about music. There's something spiritual that I think is impossible to understand about music because throughout the ages of history, it's shown, from people who have researched music and history of music, like there's, it's just this ever-present thing, regardless of in what form or what instruments of the time or whatever. I mean, the human voice is the constant one,
yeah.
and it's just universal. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was listening to this song, "Here Comes the River" by Patrick Watson. I was driving my car. It's the first time I've ever heard it because I like Patrick Watson, but I'd never heard this song. And I was just like, oh my God, and overcome with I just thought it was beautiful. And it
Oh, I'm
just,
gonna
yeah,
listen to it as soon as we finished.
please do. I hope you like it. I hope you like,
I will do.
what's this naff
What's this
song that you
shit?
told me to listen
Yeah,
to?
fucking hell. But it's a pleasure to meet you on here,
And
and
you,
like I said, I saw you at the festivals and I thought you were fantastic. I hope you're again there next year on a bigger stage and higher up the bill
thank you.
because you deserve to be. And I truly believe that I said this before we started recording that I've just got this really good feeling for you guys. Like I feel like you're going to really go far in the next sort of 12 months. I've seen it already grow. I've seen people tweeting about you and Facebooking and Instagram stories about you, and I'm seeing your name popping up a lot more. It's not me telling people; people are coming to me, and I'm like, yes, I fucking told you about this band a year ago. Like it feels really positive, and that you're going to get something special at the end of this. So I feel like this album's going to get you hopefully where you deserve, and I can't wait for next summer. I can't wait to see if you do 3.5 albums in the next 12 months. I can't wait.
Oh, thank you, mate. Thank you. I think maybe we'll limit to trying to do one more album.
Yeah,
But yeah, I really appreciate that. I'm sure the other guys will feel exactly the same. Like it's nice to we kind of live in our own little bubble down here in Cornwall, and like we don't have a like it's not until we go and do gigs it's like, oh well, people know the words or people like this music or people cry at our gigs. That's a weird thing all the time, and it's such a strange thing. Um, uh, but yeah, thank you
it
very
must be
much.
surreal that you're having the same power that the songs we've talked about today that we listened to in the car. Someone's having that because of the songs that you have written.
Yeah,
That's a head
yeah.
fuck. Like wow.
it's beautiful. It's like, yeah, and it's hard to understand, but at the same time, I know that we're really passionate, and I know that the songs we make aren't just like about ones that you don't really dance at our gigs.
No.
Sorry to disappoint anyone if they wanted to, like, but you don't really dance at our gigs. You don't really like headbang really either or anything like that. It's more like I notice the biggest buzz for me is not room of people jumping up and down singing along. It's like looking out and like playing the quietest part of one of our songs, and the whole room is silent.
Yeah.
And like that happens all the time at our gigs, and I'm so grateful that to play that kind of music, like, because I think there's something special about that is not loud and proud.
Less is more. It really is. Like
Yeah.
that real minimalistic moment is just like, it's just epic. It's better than any fucking kick drum and snare and distortion and massive overdrive pedals. It's special.
But then that massive kick drum and massive snare and overdrive and huge solo, it accentuates that moment of
It does.
peace and minimalism in the music, and it's quite representative of life in a non like arty farty way, like really that dynamic journey, you know. And I think that that's what we love doing, and I hope you're right that people pick it up and really enjoy it. And
fingers crossed.
Yeah, thank you very much though for
I've got the album already.
And...
I'm very lucky, so I've got the album already, and I've been loving it. So I'm going to listen to it again later on. And I always listen to music in the car lately. I'm at that age now where I'm like, at home's too busy, so I go out, I get in the car, drive into the countryside with my dogs, and I listen, and I'm like, that's how music should be. So yeah,
absolutely. You got to do the car test, haven't you?
Exactly.
Have you ever seen the film Once with Glenn Hansard, where they? Have you ever seen that?
I've not. No.
Oh, it's Glenn Hansard and I can't remember what the lady's name is, and they make this band, and he's got all of these songs, and he's like a Hoover fixer living in Ireland whose girlfriend's left him and moved to like England, and like he gets into the studio and records this song. One of them's in 5/4. It's a banger of a song. They're amazing, and his voice. He's another one, Glenn Hansard.
He's fucking incredible. I saw him with Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, and Eddie Vedder's another one. So, but yeah, Glenn Hansard, pure emotion, and I can't remember why I started talking about this, but
the car test in the film.
Oh yeah, and they make this demo tape, this EP in a studio, or this album, in like 2 days. And this film is fictional, but in 2 days, and then they all go right at like 5 a.m. in the morning. They were like, "We've got to do the car test," and they get in the car and they put the CD in the car, and then they all drive along listening to the CD they've just made, and they're like, "Yeah, that's good. Yeah, cool. It's
so fucking true."
Yeah, it is.
Well, you've passed the car test. I can tell you that now, so that's good news.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
I remember saying to my partner Daisy like ages ago, "We've got to do the car." Like we made a song together, and I was like, "We've got to do the car test. We've got to do the car test. We've got to sit in the car and listen to it. We've been listening to it, mixing it all day." And I was like, "No, do the car test." Yeah,
it's a good feeling. Well, I hope that when these tour dates come, there'll be something closer by than Cornwall. As much as I love Cornwall, it's about a 9-hour drive for me. So I love you guys, but it's a long, long way. But I will.
Well, hopefully, we come near you soon.
Yeah, hopefully like Birmingham or Wolverhampton or Manchester or something like that. And yeah, I'll come and say hello.
Please do, man. It'd be good to meet you.
Definitely
in the flesh.
We'll have a beer and let's make it happen. But
thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate your time and your kind words about the music.
It's a pleasure. You're a fucking awesome band, man. You're going to go far, and I'll be the guy that can say I had them on my podcast before they got that big.
Yeah, first ever podcast I've done. Well, I did a little one with a chap who runs the bar that we had our first residency in, which is a little noodle bar in Plymouth. I did like a little I wanted to capture a conversation with him because he's such an important person in my life, and I did a little thing with him. But that's my only practice, other than the fact that I just witter on all the time. I've definitely got the gift of not shutting up.
No, it's good. Sometimes I ask questions and they're just like, yes. I'm like, brilliant. So are you excited for the new album? Yeah, it's good. Okay, brilliant. Well,
okay, thank you very much.
That's my 10-minute interview done. But it's a pleasure to speak to you, dude. And I'll keep in contact, and we'll hopefully meet soon.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and John from the awesome band Haunt the Woods. And as I said, please go and check out the album now. You will not regret it. Stream it, buy it. And I've just seen, as I was recording last week, they've just announced a UK tour. I think it's in November with various dates. Go and see them. I saw them at 2000 Trees. You'll not be let down. They are genuinely the band to watch. I can't praise them enough. They're just unbelievable. And they're so humble, they're so down to earth, and they have no idea just how good they are. And I can't wait to see where they go in the near future. I want to say today a massive thank you to everyone that keeps supporting this podcast. It's been an incredible journey, over 300 episodes, and I'm not slowing down anytime soon. I also want to say a massive thanks to Richer Sounds and Folio Society, who both sponsor this podcast each and every episode. Without those guys, I wouldn't be able to keep it going. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please share it. It's all I ever ask for Mark and me. Also, if you really want to support me, I do have a Patreon account. It really goes a long way if you can put any money into that. It goes right back into the podcast and allows me to host it on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and basically get across the country, travel around, and get as many interviews as I can for you guys at home. It's the only way I can do it from having support from you guys. I'll be back in only a few days' time with another brand new episode and also a brand new video on Monday on YouTube. Remember, it's called Mark and Me TV, and I really appreciate it if you can subscribe, like, and share those videos. I want everyone to get involved because a lot of work goes into them. So until I'm back with a brand new episode, listen to Haunt the Woods, take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
The winter's turn to fish poles. The cities are seas. The cars are drowning underneath your feet. The children are swimming from the top of the trees. Crowds of umbrellas are standing misbelief. Well, Mary kept sewing, holding on to her TV. Even if the water is rising past her knees. Here comes the river, coming on strong, but you can't keep your head above these troubled waters. Here comes the river, over the flames. Sometimes you gotta burn to keep a storm away. Sometimes got to choose. Nobody told you it was gonna be this hard. Something's been building behind your eyes. You lost what you hold on to, losing control. There ain't any words in this world that's gonna cure this pain. Sometimes it's gonna fall down on your shoulders, but you're gonna stand through it all. Here comes the river, coming on strong. Gloucestershire.